Thanks everyone for being here. Welcome to 2025 for the Hospice and Palliative Care Grand Rounds. Very sorry to everyone who had to tolerate my tech issues to get here, and for those who are going to keep coming in. Fortunately, this is recorded. We're excited to have Dr. Katie Neuendorf here. She has been an amazing contributor to the field, to the virtual didactics, to the academy, to just general hospice and palliative care education for a long time. She's been a palliative care doctor at the Cleveland Clinic since 2010, and as a pragmatist, understands that her bio will mean nothing to you if the next hour of your time is not well spent. It's probably important to know that she led communication skills training at the Cleveland Clinic and beyond, which allowed her to bring foundational communication skills training to over 10,000 physicians, NPs, and PAs over the span of the last 8 years. She was honored to be given AAHPM's Award for Excellence in Education and Training in 24, and the rest of what there is to know about her would probably be boring and time-consuming, and she'd rather use the time speaking to you directly. So I will let Dr. Katie Neuendorf speak directly.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate that. If you'll give me some sort of control, I'll start sharing my slides.
I think I did.
So welcome. I know I talked about the snow here in Cleveland today, and yet I know in different parts of the country, it's a very, very different state of affairs. People, I'm sure, would wish for some horrible road conditions because of snow in other places. So I have that in mind. I want to talk today really about improv. It's funny, I've seen this series. I am very appreciative to be invited to come to this series because I believe so much in it. I think there's so much good that happens here. And I was like, I have a lot of things to talk about, but for the most part, it's all anecdotal in the moment teaching. At least that's what I feel like I thrive on, not a whole hour piece. But so, Ben, thank you for asking me to do this talk. I love talking about this. And so we're going to talk about improv and just how to add a little bit of freedom back to your speech. I have no financial relationships to disclose. I should disclose, though, I have a ton of soapboxes when it comes to communication in general. I will try to keep myself from standing on too many of them, but you've been warned. Here are the objective pieces. They were out there, and 1 and 2, we're going to get done in the first few slides. And then for 3, really at the end of this, I'm hoping in the chat, you can choose 1 or 2 techniques that you think that you can apply in your next conversation. That's the goal of this learning, is that you're going to go out, you're going to leave, you're going to talk to somebody, and you're going to use something that you learned here. So in the next 45 minutes, what I want to start, though, is find out who's here a little bit. We'll do an intro to improv. We're going to give it a try. So those of you who agreed to be volunteers, I'm so appreciative. And then we're going to reflect a little bit. So let's get acquainted. I am going to give this a short period of time that people are going to either use this or not. If you know how to use your annotate feature, and if you're in a place that you can use your annotate feature, that's what I'm going to ask for right now. If you don't know how to use annotate, you can scrap it as soon as you want to and just use the chat feature. So that's okay too. And if you aren't able to do either because you're driving or something's not safe, that's okay. If you have your annotate feature, what I want you to do is find a stamp or find something and just let everybody know where you are right now. Are you wide awake and present? Or are you a bit sleepy and distracted? Awesome. So some of you got it. Yep. So we've got some wide awakes and presence. A little bit of being awesome, a little bit sleepy and distracted. Awesome. All right. I am going to delete all of those. Thank you for those of you who put it in the chat. In general, we are awake today. So whatever you did this morning, well done. And those of you who are sleepy and distracted, we'll see if we can pull you along with us. It's okay. The next one, I'm still annotating. The next thing, who are you joining us today? So back to that annotate feature. Are you a physician fellow? I was assuming that most people would be a physician fellow, but I would imagine that some people are different. If you're a resident or medical student, I'm forcing you to pick the aspiring HPM fellow category. At least that's what I'm asking you to do. Or you're Ben and you're also still want to be a fellow again. And I didn't know if there was a category I was missing. I don't know how many chaplains or RNs or anybody else might join. Okay, awesome. And then we've got those of you in the chat as well. All right, so we've got a good mix of people. Love that. Let me clear this. We're gonna go to the next one. So we keep to get to know who's here. Oh, there is a chaplain here. Welcome. You right now, it's you, just you, or you have 2 to 3 people with you, you have 4 to 5 people with you, or you have maybe even 5 or more people with you. I know when our group has done this, there's usually like 5 or more people. We gather and watch these didactics as a group. Yeah, so 4 to 5 people, a lot of me, myself, and I's. No 2 to 3s. All right, well, I guess that's for today. That's not. Oh, no, there's a 2 to 3. All right, Lauren, I see you. Awesome. Let me clear this. We just have, I think, one more of these. Yeah, okay. In terms of improv, you've never engaged with improv, you've watched it on TV, you've been a part of an improv or company, you've been a part of an improv company or an improv group, or you've done a few improv exercises in your life. Just trying to get a sense. Oh man, we've got like a real improver. And oh good, a lot of you have done this. Awesome. And super excited about never engaging because that is fun as well. I don't even know how many people, I didn't know what to put on like watch it on TV anymore. Like, is that a streaming type of a thing? Or some people have watched it, some people have done a few exercises. Awesome. All right, let me clear all of that. If I have anything else to ask you, I think we'll be good. And this one's kind of important. Actually, I lied. We're going to do one last one. When you think of yourself doing communication skills on this spectrum, on one end of the spectrum, I follow the communication steps that I've been taught. On the other end of the spectrum is I wing it. Where do you feel like you fall in terms of what you do? And yeah, somewhere in the middle. I know for the chat, it's going to be a little bit tough. Some people really, are more on the follow the steps. Some people it's what feels natural. Some people we have nobody like 100% winging it. And as with everything, it depends. I love it. Okay, good. That is helpful to know too, because as I talk about improv in general, this isn't necessarily for the wing it people. I would say that. I would say that improv isn't necessarily winging it, but I like it because sometimes the steps that you're taught don't work. Or you've been in that situation. So first, let me talk about what improv is. There are lots of different definitions out there. A few years ago, I was able to present this with a co-med student and a co-attending, and really came up with this definition of a collaborative theater form in which characters, dialogue, screens, they're created spontaneously. So it's collaborative. The scene is created spontaneously. The performances are unscripted. And the basic tenets of it, they include accepting and building upon the ideas of others. You make success out of failure where you can, and you support one another through honesty and positivity. Another way if you think of it, some of the tenets of improv, again, make contributions, not denials. So again, accept what your partner says or accept what's happening in the room. You're going to try your best to help your partner look good. For improv to work, you have to be fully present because you have to be paying attention to what's coming at you. And this one, you've got to play the scene you're in, not the scene you want to be in.
Is she okay?
So when I think about communication skills and when I think about improv in general, we are thrown into improv theater every day where we have a sense of what the scene's going to be. We have to build a collaborative effort. It's going to go more effectively if we are helping my partner look good and I'm making contributions. I'm not just shutting everything down. And if I accept the scene that I'm in and not the scene that I want to be in. Um, Kelly Leonard, who's big in the Second City in the Chicago area, calls improv yoga for your social skills. I like that one. And then the other one is just noisy group mindfulness is the other way to think about improv. And I like those as well. The reason this came into my life. So again, I would not check the box in terms of doing improv theater. I tried it and but this was after I learned about it through communication skills training. The Ready model, the Cleveland Clinic was doing the Ready model. This is where I was able to bring these skills to a lot of people throughout, not just Cleveland Clinic, but in other areas as well. In this model, we're like, great, we trained people once and we'd like to sustain their skills, but we can't do another full day training. And we can't just do the same thing because docs in particular are pretty curmudgeon-y with their time and it needs to be well spent. What can we do that's different to try to keep all of this work that we did going and build on it and make sure that it's not the same old thing? And that's where improv came into my life. And then this is a small part of our facilitator team that existed.
Okay.
The other way that I think about improv in general is if you think of sports metaphors, so if you're not a sporty person, just stick with me here. In tennis, you have a serve, you have the forehand, you have the backhand, you have the lob, you have all of these different things. I'm not really a tennis player, so I hope all of these things match. In most communication skills training, you just have scrimmages, right? Where it's like a pretend game and you're just playing the pretend game. But if you're a tennis player, you're really going to break down the parts of the game so that you're really practicing it. Because if I can't serve the ball well, it doesn't matter that I have a fantastic backhand because it's never going to come back to me because the ball's not really going to get into play. If I can't do a backhand, all of my games might go a lot longer than they needed to be because I can't close the deal with a backhand and I go to my forehand and it takes a lot longer, right? So we brought improv in, and I think of improv drills and some of the games that we play as these pieces. What is the breakdown of communication? I'm not going to do a full scrimmage. I'm not doing a full role play where it's start to finish. I'm pulling out one piece of it and really just practicing this one piece of it. And maybe if I can do this one piece of it differently, when I get back into scrimmage, the scrimmage is going to go a little bit better. So I hope that that analogy makes sense. This is my family. When I also just wanted, to get real for a minute in terms of the bringing speed and the freedom back into speech. This is my family now. When I started doing improv, these old shenanigans were, in their toddler phases and life was busy and difficult. And I was in this place and doing some teaching, and I remember being in an emotional intelligence workshop, and I had been attending for 3 to 4 years. And I talked about this fact of why is it at work? I am this person that I carefully choose the right words with emotional control. And at home, I freely voice my unfiltered thoughts and feelings, right? Like on this yin yang or whatever you want to call it, like this equilibrium. On work, I'm at one end of this all the time. And at home, I feel like I am absolutely at the other end. And the other way to say this is at work, I'm called calm and collected. And at home, I was a raving lunatic. And part of this lovely woman that came to me is that said, you have to bring more of yourself into your work? Can you try to find the middle? And I really feel like improv came to me at a time that I needed to find the middle. And I would guess on that spectrum that I asked you guys earlier, I was probably more along the lines of like, this is what I'm supposed to say, and I'm going to try to stick with it. And, I might not believe what I'm saying anymore, but I've been told that this is what works, so I'm going to keep trying it. And that wasn't working for me forever. So I know a fair number of you were fellows that are on this call. Some of you were in the intending bucket. And what I want to say about improv in general is that you guys might not be there. I hope for your own sanity that you're not in like the raving lunatic at home bucket. But there might come a point where you're like, I just feel like what I'm saying is too scripted. It's not enough of me. And what I needed to start doing is bring more of me into my conversations so that at home I could be more calm, cool, and collected. So I hope for some of you that might have resonated. So enough talking. That's great. Here's my ask. At least 5 of you agreed to volunteer to join some of these games. And if you skimmed over that part and didn't see that we needed volunteers to play games, you are welcome to continue to join in and volunteer. You can just send Ben a chat or put it in the chat, which I'm not going to be following too closely. If you are volunteering, my ask of you is to remove any pressure to be funny. The interesting part about improv, and you think about the definitions that I gave or some of the tenets, humor is not actually a part of improv. And those of you who are true to companies, there's that piece as well. A lot of times what ends up coming off the top of your head ends up being funny, but funny is not always the goal. And even some of the games, funny is not really the goal at the end of it. So if you are volunteering, I ask you to remove any pressure to be funny. That's not the goal. If you're volunteering, and actually for all of us, if you can bring your attention to the present moment so that you can be a part of these games and really thinking about what is being given to me and how can I help my partner look good? Because you're going to accept, if you're volunteering, you're going to accept your partner's offerings as a gift. If you are listening in and lucky enough to watch the volunteers, you're going to accept everything that they offer as a gift. And I want you to realize there are no right answers to any of today's exercises. So what comes to mind first will be accepted. And for everybody else, my ask is to appreciate and support the volunteers who are putting themselves out there. Okay, so we're going to start with yes and. Again, if we break down communication in general, yes and in different conversations comes up for sure. All right, so Ben, do I have 2? Are you going to be able to help me grab 2 volunteers, any 2 volunteers?
I see. Yeah, I see 3 of the 4. I don't know, Susan, if you're on, Susan McCammon. That's the only one that I don't see who signed up. So we have 3 who are here and signed up. That was Mel, Jess McFarlane, and Faryal, who was kind enough to tolerate Facebook.
Awesome.
So you
Okay,
need how many?
2. I need 2 people right now. I want everybody else to turn off their camera. I'm going to be the floating head. Actually, I'm not going to be a floating head. I'm just going to be like somebody who's talking, but you can't see me.
Then let's see, we have 3 cameras on. So the first of you to turn your camera off wins. Oh, no, I think I'm sorry. Um, Jess and Mel, there we are.
Jess and Mel, you're
Jess and
on.
Mel,
Okay.
sorry, Faryal. You'll do the next one.
Yes. So I have a timer right here. Jess and Mel, you are going to be doing part 1. Jess comes first in the alphabet. So Jess, you're going to be partnering. You're going to make a declarative statement about sports. It has to be a declarative statement, and I'm asking for all of these to be declarative statements, no questions. And then Mel, you're going to respond. So just your statement about sports, it can be I think football is the best sport. I think tennis is the best sport. I think that sports figures are overpaid and we shouldn't be spending money on this as a society. Like whatever you want, it just has to be declarative. From then on, for no more than 30 seconds, you're just going to go back and forth with sentences that start with no. So Mel, whatever Jess says, you're going to come back with no, and you're going to come up with your own sentence to that. And then Jess, you're going to come back and you're going to say no, and you're going to come up with a sentence with that. And we're going to see how well this goes for 30 seconds. I would say you don't necessarily have to believe what you say. Just try to make the conversation work. Does that make sense?
Is it possible to stop the screen share so I can see
Yes, I'd
this a
love
little
that.
better?
Much better. Thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
Okay. All right, go for it.
Oh, okay. The University of Kentucky college basketball team is the most fun sporting team to watch on television.
No, I beg to differ there. Like the Creighton Blue Jays in Omaha just have the most avid fans.
No, I think when you talk about avid fans, we probably shouldn't leave out the fact that soccer fans in South America are the most avid fans.
Oh, no, 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 no. The Storm Chasers in Omaha are the most avid soccer fans. They paint themselves in white, black, and yellow. They are tailgating 3 days before the event.
All right, we're going to time out there. That was more than 30 seconds, but I wanted to see where we ended up with that. That was awesome. Okay. Second one, we're going to talk about pets. Mel, you're going to start. So Mel's going to start this next one. You're going to make a declarative statement about pets. Again, it could be dogs are the best, cats are the best, pigs are the best. Nobody should have animals inside of, the four walls of a domicile, whatever you want. And then you're just going to go back and forth. So then, Jess, you're going to do a yes, but, and you're going to go back and forth. And again, we're going to do this for about 30 seconds.
Yes,
Mel, do
but
you feel ready?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Oxalotls have been found to be the world's most natural antidepressant as a pet.
yes, but I'm not sure that everyone can keep an oxalotl in their home.
Yes, but there are a number of people who are incredibly tenacious pet owners and make sure that their oxalotls receive everything they need.
Yes, but how do you make certain that people that are just afraid of oxalotls have a pet that can also help with depression?
I'm going to pause you. Real talk, I didn't know that oxalotl was an actual thing and not just a stuffed animal. So that's fantastic. Okay, for the last round of this is part 3. Jess, you're going to come back to starting. You and Mel are going to have a conversation about vacations. Okay, so you're going to make a declarative statement about vacations. Mel, and then Jessica, I'm going to ask you to reply with a yes and. Every once in a while, yes and isn't going to work all that well. And so if yes and doesn't feel like the right reply, you can use, I appreciate you said that because, and then, the next person just pick up with a yes and or an I appreciate you said that because. Make sense? All right, 30 seconds, vacations, go.
We need to ensure that everyone is entitled to at least 4 weeks of vacation a year.
Yes. And we need to make sure that that vacation is completely untethered from any in-basket coverage.
Yes, and we need to make certain that there's someone looking out for our colleagues that they're taking their vacation, not just assuming that they will.
Yes, yes. And I think that means that we need to stand up a compliance committee for vacation enjoyment.
Yes. And I would volunteer to be on that vacation and also provide options for staycations in case someone doesn't want to travel but still be relaxed.
Ooh, yes. And go, Katie.
Yeah, I love it. I love that we made a committee meeting out of this as well. So we're going to go back to the slides for just a minute. So thank you both for doing that. Thank you to the participants. You could try to figure out some of the things that you might have said to that. So what I'd ask, you can either come off mute or even put it in the chat. I want you to think about these 3 questions. So this isn't just for Mel and Jessica because we were all watching. How did the conversation feel? And which felt the most familiar to you? So, through each conversation, you can either just answer to like the no conversation felt like this, yes, but felt like this. Out of the 3, did one of them feel most familiar to you? And then we're going to save the last one for a minute. The no conversation felt adversarial. Yes, and felt more energizing. And not just because it was about vacation, probably. Yeah. So Mel, there's a part of what Mel put in there. The yes, but was so big before fellowship. And for a lot of you, whoever put that, usually, yes, but feels pretty familiar. But for Jessica, the yes and feels more like you. I think the piece about how to find a way to make it genuine is helpful. I'm sure you've all probably heard people who like emphasize the and you're like, oh, you totally wanted to use the but there. It loses some of its luster when you do that, for sure. So I want to take a minute because yes, this is a great exercise. And then there's this idea of, but how is it like what we do in clinical practice? And I want to do that as a group. What I want to think through is I'd like you as the audience to be a patient who was just told that they have cancer, they have tried different therapies of treatment, and there is no more treatment available to them. And I want you to be the patient or family member who just can't accept that. You are all, as the audience, going to be a collective person owning that brain. And what I want to show is how you can apply the yes and. I appreciate you said that because, and sometimes it's just empathy or reflection, but I want to apply that rather than the yes but. Okay. So I'm going to start, and then you all just put some things in the chat in terms of what your natural reaction would be as this collective brained person who really doesn't want to be at the end of treatment and doesn't want to die. And so I'll say, my dear patient, I'm so sorry. I heard that the oncologist said that there was no more treatment for you and for this cancer. And you're saying there has to be something else. I appreciate you said that because it shows how much you wanted something else to be done. But what if there's another trial? There can be lots of, so if I step out, there are lots of different ways that you can do this. So I might do that. I appreciate you said that because just to give you guys an idea of how you can respond to these different things. So, but what if there is another trial? I appreciate you said that because it shows me that you wanted to try all options possible. Well, that's what they said, but I'm going to get a second opinion. Yes, and I've definitely met patients in your situation who do want a second opinion. If you want, we can talk through what I would worry about if you went for a second opinion. I'm a fighter and I'm going to beat the odds. They don't know me. Yes, you are a fighter. You've shown that this entire time. And I think we're in a situation right now that we can try to fight the information that's in front of you, or we can fight to figure out what this can look like differently, right? So I'm going to stop that. I'd like to apply it so that you can see that a lot of times the yes, but is easy. If we had more time, we would do a yes, but because it's so much easier and so familiar. Really trying to push yourself to do a yes and, or I appreciate you said that, because especially when you're getting something from patients or families that's outside of what you were hoping that they were going to say, can be really helpful. In the grand scheme of things, the no conversation, I think we're lucky enough that we don't hear that one too often. The interesting part is that a lot of people talk about yes, but as a veiled no conversation is really what that is. Yes, but is an easy conversation because all I have to do is find something in what you said that I disagree with and keep harping on that. And yes, and for those of you that yes, and doesn't feel as familiar, that is natural. And there's a piece around the flexing that muscle of trying to find something somebody said that you do agree with, or that you can at least validate and celebrate. In January, maybe that's not where most of you are, but it does definitely happen for sure. Okay. So now we're going to do a 1-minute rant. If any of you interviewed at our program, you went through this. In the last few years, you went through this. Ben, tell me again who I'm looking for. I'm looking for 2 volunteers, and you're both going to rant.
Ariel and Anna, sorry, wanna go, or who wants to go first?
Okay, so we've got Anna and we've got Ariel. So Anna, I'm going to have you go first.
Okay.
For this group, everybody listening, you are the collective listener. Okay. So Anna, you're going to speak first. You're going to have 1 minute, and I'm going to encourage you to really try to give it 60 seconds worth of ranting. I want you to think about something that bothers you. First world problems are welcome here. I am encouraging first world problems. And as the group that is here appreciating you and supporting you, there is no judgment if you bring us a first world problem. You know, it could be your coffee's not hot enough, or like it'd be whatever first world problem or whatever other thing really bothers you. We're not going to worry about exchange roles. So Anna, you're going to go first, or Anna, you're going to go first, and Ariel, you're going to go second. So we're going to have 2 minutes of ranting. After both of them have had a turn ranting, we as a group are going to introduce them as a friend. And so you're all going to enter this into the chat. When you are listening to be able to complete your job of reframing the rant in a way that identifies 1 or 2 values or motivations that the person holds. And you're going to try to do this without we're going to pretend like we didn't all hear the rant. And whatever you say, it's going to be a way that you wouldn't have known what the rant was about. So it'll be, this is my friend Anna, and Ariel, what are your pronouns?
Hers.
Okay. And was that for both of you?
That was Anna, sorry.
Okay, so so this is my friend Anna, and she values, and you're coming up with 1 or 2 things, and that's going to be the crux of it. Does everybody understand their roles right now? I'm going to stop sharing again. Okay, I'm excited. Go for it, Anna. Wait, hold on. Let me get up the timer, because you're probably not going to want to go more than a minute for sure. Promise you, I will stop you in a minute. Okay, go ahead and go.
I can't stand that people are using plastic bags at the grocery store. We know how bad plastic is. We know that they get not thrown away. We know that they just get home and immediately discard them. And it just drives me bonkers. If you're going to use a bag at the grocery store, I think you should use a paper bag. Because we know at least those are recyclable. They can be used for so many other things. You can reuse them as a trash bag that's actually more sturdy than a plastic bag. You could reuse them as your recycling can bag. And so then that could just actually go into the recycling box or the recycling dumpster outside. You don't have to separate it out and then dump the plastic bag out and then throw the plastic bag away again. Everybody has reusable bags or tote bags or canvas bags. I just can't believe that we're using plastic bags at the grocery store. And I can't believe that they're being offered.
You
It
have
just
10
seems like a
seconds
waste of
left, but
material, and I don't think we should use plastic bags at the grocery store anymore.
awesome. That was like 3 seconds left. So you did it. Well done. Okay. Ariel, are you going to come on? Will you give us a lovely rant?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on. Let me get your timer going so that you don't. All right. Go ahead and go.
I love teaching medical students, but it's my biggest pet peeve when they either don't appreciate space and they get very, very close to me, or they start like nodding yes as I'm talking. I haven't even said anything. So I don't know when they're nodding yes, does that mean they understand me or what I'm saying they've heard before, or this is boring, or I just can't really this head movement really bothers me. And I live in Hawaii, and people do it out of respect and they're trying to be nice and appreciative, but this movement just drives me crazy, and it shouldn't, because it's better than no response at all maybe, but the combination of very little personal space and constantly nodding really interferes with me wanting to get a point across or teach. And I've noticed that while that never bothered me before, since it bothers me in this interaction, I've noticed that it bothers me at the library, at the grocery store, and anything else that I can come across, this constant nodding. And then I caught myself doing it a couple of times, and then I tried to put a stop to that.
Awesome. You did it. Thank you. Okay. All right, listeners, you're on. And how do you say your name, by the way?
Fariel, like Ariel with an F.
Ariel with an F. So Fariel. Thank you. Okay. Here we go, group. Let's put it in the chat, and I will share that slide again in case the prompt is helpful to you. But this is my friend Anna, and she values. This is my friend Fariel, and she values. This is my friend Anna, and she's concerned about her community and environment. What else do we have? Let's do Anna first. Yeah, this is my friend Anna, and she values the environment and avoiding waste. She values her environment and creative problem solving. This is my friend Anna, and she values recycling, cares about the environment and sustainability, nature and the environment. Love it. All right, Fariel, let's do Fariel's next. So one of you already put hers in. Yep. She values clear communication. Excellent. What else would you put? This is my friend Fariel, and she values learning and communication with students. Yeah, she is attuned to nonverbal communication. She values engaged learners with meaningful interactions in teaching. Yep. She values communication and nonverbals. Honest, true communication and true connection. I love it. You guys, this is great. Okay, you're going to keep putting wonderful things in the chat, and I'm going to move on. So, Anna and Fariel, if you don't mind coming off, how did it feel to be introduced to the group as a friend after you ranted for a minute?
Super awkward. I feel like I can vent to my friends and I can complain all day, and I kind of use humor as a deflection. So I'm kind of always finding a little thing to quip on, even if everything's perfect. So I really try to present to public and new friends and those kinds of things in a positive light and focus on the good. So I really try not to rant all day about things. Or if I do, I try to have a solution for them. So I was like, oh, what are they going to say? That she just is annoyed with people all the time, like using plastic. They're ubiquitous. They're everywhere. So,
Yeah. So on the one hand, it was weird to rant in the first place. And then the second hand, you're worried about the things that might come at you. Fariel, what was your experience about being introduced to the group and some of the values that people got from your rant?
Yeah, so it was very vulnerable. I don't know anybody in this space. Some of you know each other. So it was vulnerable in that you've never seen me or heard me. And I started complaining about something that, like you said, is a first word problem. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it, I feel ashamed toward this because they're not doing anything bad. This is people that are they're trying to win my affection in some way. And how does that bother me? So I feel ashamed that I experienced this. And the way the spin was putting that I value honest communication is true. And I feel like you saw a better version of me when you were able to reframe it like that.
Yes. Awesome. Listeners, you can either come off mute or put it in the chat. What is it that allowed you to listen for the positive value or motivation? So intention, assuming positive intent, being present, trying to find the meaning behind the context. Lauren, you're absolutely right. In your group, like I asked you to look for it, right? But sometimes you need that guidance. Yeah, Melly, like that. Sometimes you need the guidance to find something positive or to frame it that way. I think a few things, how you can apply this exercise to clinical care. I'm going to come with a few things that we often hear in this. You can add some to the chat if you want as well. The interesting piece is that in clinical care, think of how many times that you get ranted at. And there are a few pieces of that. Number one, I heard from both of you how vulnerable it felt to rant. And the second time, especially to somebody you don't know, and that you are risk not only the rant itself, which feels vulnerable, but you are risk putting yourself at extra judgment when at the end of the day, you've got a positive value or motivation that's in there. And so I think the piece of this, yes, that's true for the ranter. As the listener, it's interesting is that sometimes if you just step back and what you're listening for is that positive value and motivation, like if somebody starts to rant, this is actually a game I play in my head. So if I have a patient or family member who's starting to rant at me, I, in my brain, step back a minute and just like, Katie, listen for the value. What's the value? And what a difference after the end of that, if what I can say is, wow, it sounds like you really value. And most of the time, it's the same things. It sounds like you really value clear and honest communication. That's a part of the value that we get a lot of times. So that's the way that I ask you to apply it to clinical care, or at least, I guess, propose that you can apply it, is that next time you're being ranted at, just think to yourself, this isn't about me. And it's interesting too, because if you can step into that place of curiosity about where is their value and motivation, that allows you to step out of defensiveness. I think that's true about empathy in general, but if we can just open up that curiosity of what is it that they value here? What did really got under their skin? I think in the interest of time, we're going to skip the very last game that we had, and we're going to actually apply this. I think that that's probably worth the time. So I am going to be the last. I'm going to respectfully adopt the last rant that was thrown at me, and you all are going to look and listen for the positive value or motivation from me as the patient. Okay, you ready? I just don't understand what it is that you're really getting at. I feel like we've been talking for a while and I still don't understand why you're even here. You've told me a few times that it's something, but I feel like there's something bigger that you're just not telling me. And that's what this is really about. I get it. I'm a sick guy. I've been back and forth to the hospital. But look, I'm not asking for roses. I just want another 5 years. So I don't understand why everybody comes in here with puppy dog eyes and they're looking at me and they keep having the same conversations. And now they bring in a new team to have the same conversation. And I don't understand what it is that you really are trying to get at. I mean, this is the Cleveland Clinic and I'm here for heart failure and y'all are supposed to be the best at hearts. So fix my heart and stop with this. Again, I'm not asking for forever, but I don't feel like 5 more years is all that big of a deal. And I was transferred from another hospital specifically for here. And you're supposed to help fix my liver because the liver is supposed to be affecting the heart and nobody's done anything about the liver yet either. So, go do that. All right, everybody. Oh, man, oh man. Okay, so in the chat, what were some underlying values and motivation? Yes. So is my friend Katie, and she values empathic interactions from the clinicians. You're either taking longer to type or that one was harder to do. He values direct communication. Absolutely. Yeah. Values knowledge. Dignity and respect for wishes, stated goals and alignment, honesty, values people that do what they say, all of those. Yep, don't beat around the bush. Absolutely. So I think that there's something there again, and I like to do the application piece of this because it's one thing to a lot of times like, and I'm totally aligned with you, and actually parallel, I also don't like people too close to me and nodding. That would drive me a little bit batty as well. So I'm aligned with your rant. There's something different when you're not fully aligned with the rant, and as this guy who probably has weeks to live is ranting about, all of this piece, it's harder to align. And that's why I like to apply it to try to get to that place of what's the underlying value, what's the motivation, and really push yourself to get to that space of, can I come up with that value? Because when you can do that, I promise you, that person who is just vulnerable with you and who just shared things and is assuming that you're going to judge them anyway, and you can come at them with, this is what I hear that you value, really, really takes a different tone with them. The third exercise is a fun one that we're not going to do, but it's called Rip Van Winkle. And really what it is, one of you would have pretended like you were from Little House on the Prairie days, no real electricity and smokestacks and horse and buggy. And you were going to pick a card, and the person from present day would have about 90 minutes to either explain a space shuttle, it depends on what you picked, a credit card, an Uber, a microwave, let's see, I've got two more, email, or a Stairmaster. So you'd be able to explain that to your partner. And a lot of that gets to, if you're going to explain, let's say a space shuttle, I'm not going to do space shuttle. If you're going to explain a microwave to somebody who grew up in, Little House on the Prairie times, at the end of the day, are you starting with how it's going to help them and how it's going to change their life and not how it works? And so and this is an exercise that really gets at, are we talking, when we're talking to patients, are we thinking more about applying it to how the thing works, the specifics of that, or are we really stepping back to say, well, this is what, this is how it's going to affect your life. We do this, Ben knows this. We do this because things like a Stairmaster and sometimes a space shuttle, like after you're done explaining them, some people would still be like, yeah, but why would anybody want that? So it's helpful to know. Sometimes it's your communication and sometimes they just don't want the thing that you're describing. In general, what I would continue to encourage all of you is that communication skills are more of an active muscle than a thinking form. To get communication skills better, different, to change, you really have to try them out. You've got to put the work in, and I'm sure that all of you know that by now. You can think all you want about saying something differently, so that's why I give those of you who tried a lot of credit. So as we summarize for today, communication in clinical care, for me at least, shares a lot of the tenets of improv. We never know what we're walking into, but the more we can accept what we get as a gift and play the scene that we're in, the better outcomes we're going to have. I would say that for me personally, it allowed me to have a little bit more of my true self in the conversation, which helped at a time in my career that I needed that. I needed something different, and being so calculated or and I don't want to say calculated, I don't try to manipulate people, but just being so careful with my words was taking so much energy. And this allowed me to be a little bit more free form, and which was great. If you can try yes, and I appreciate you said that because it may open new avenues, and you can listen for that positive underlying value. So I'm hoping that you can put in your chat just 1 or 2 things that you might try the next time you're about to talk to patients and families. Oh gosh, we're over. You're going to put that in, and if you're able to stay and do that, the rest of you, my email's open to all of you at any time. It's also on AHPM's website. Contact me if you have any questions. Thank you for your time. Thank you to those of you who volunteered today.
Thank you, Katie. It was amazing, as always. If you're trying to get CME credit, I put the link in the chat. If you haven't signed up to get CME credit from this series, I put the sign up in the chat as well. Thank you to everyone who volunteered. And I'm very sorry about my tech issues that led to our limited session today. So I promise I'll do better in the future. Should be a really good year of lectures, so stay tuned. Our next one will be after AHPM.
Bye, everybody. And thank you to the HAPC group for putting these on. What a great resource. Have a great day, everybody.